All right, music fans, welcome. Harmless Dave here, talking real music in real time for real people, just like you and just like me. Don't forget to try the veal. And don't forget to tip your bartenders and waitresses, and make sure you follow me on Patreon for $1 a month. That's all it takes. And don't forget to subscribe. So the reviews are starting to pour in for the Journey appearances. And I find that I get great joy in reading concert reviews of these bands that I grew up listening to, like Journey especially. But back when Fleetwood Mac went out without Lindsey Buckingham, I'll never forget some of those reviews because there was some real comedy going on there. And I'm sure the writers didn't intend it, but there's just great material. And this particular review I'm about to dive into has plenty of spectacular moments written by somebody who obviously wasn't all that enthusiastic about covering this show. All right. This comes from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. The title is Journey Tries to Blow the Roof Off of PPG Paints Arena in Tour Opener. Hey, in the old days, they used to say, don't pop your peas. Impossible. PPG Paints Arena. The phone would already be ringing if I were in the studio and be like, what the heck are you doing? Stop popping your peas. So anyway, the Post-Gazette writes here, if you were there for the one song, oh my gosh, here we go. Right off the bat. If you were there for the one song, see, nobody has any attention span. They think this is going to be a TikTok concert. Can we just get this done in a minute? Can we just cram like the 2 or 3 hours into like 1 minute and just post it and then say, hey, look, I was at the PPG Paints Arena, right? So anyway, the first sentence, if you were there for the one song, you could have made it an early night. Journey didn't make the people wait for Don't Stop Believin'. Taking that midnight train on the third song Tuesday at the PPG Paints Arena on the opening night of the Freedom Tour. Now, here's where we get into the nitty-gritty, where he's reviewing the sound, battling a brittle, bassy mix. Brittle and bassy don't go together. But anyway, apparently Journey was battling, they were like, they're battling a brittle, bassy mix early in the set. Journey sounded uneven on the first two songs. What the hell does that mean? Back in the day, these real sort of erudite type people would review albums and they would say things like, the new Jackson Browne album is somewhat uneven. Oh, okay. Could you tell us what's uneven about it? Because that word doesn't mean anything to me in that context. Say, I liked these songs. I didn't like those other songs. Say something that makes sense to me. So right off the bat here, we've got some writing by the numbers kind of words that are being thrown in here. The brittle, bassy mix, sounding uneven. And the first two songs, by the way, were Only the Young and Stone in Love. But, okay, and I have a theory here, but pulled it together for the hit that's rallied millennials to these rock and roll Hall of Famers who reach the half-century mark next year. Okay, good sentence, very theatrical. All right, so the first two songs, this particular reviewer did not like, Only the Young and Stone in Love. But he claims that it was a brittle, bassy mix. But then all of a sudden, as though an angelic light shone from the sky and came down, they pulled it together. In other words, he didn't like the first two songs, but, and he probably didn't know the first two songs, but he knows about Don't Stop Believin'. And of course, he had to make reference that Journey as a band is approaching 50 years. Okay. So inching towards that, meaning inching towards the half-century mark, Journey was actually one of the more active bands during the Thing-demic. Okay, don't know what that has to do with the show. They were busy suing each other after two members. Okay, so we're going to go into the lawsuit thing, which again has nothing really to do with the show. You could just say revamped lineup and tell us who the new lineup is and focus on that. But we're going to get some edited history and history by omission. Steve Smith and Ross Valerie, who were the founding or who took part in what founding guitarist Neil Schon alleged to be an attempted coup. Okay, I've already covered this a million times. When the dust settled, the rhythm section from the band's heyday was gone, joining the guy who sang all their hits, meaning that they were banished from the band, like Steve Perry, as ex-members of Journey, and proving again that Schon is not one to mess with. I'm sure if the guys weren't trying to do the whole golden parachute thing, and from what I hear, everybody's cool now. You know, Steve and Ross got what they wanted, and they're good with it. But, you know, obviously this guy isn't going to know that. So he's going to give everybody, you know, the Cliff Notes version and the, you know, the TMZ part of this. And that's fine. I guess it's interesting to read this, but we're still not talking about the show. Thus, Journey was a different crew than the one that played PPG in 2018. Schon reached back into Journey's past to pluck drummer Dean Castronovo and add Jason Durlatka on keyboards and vocals along with longtime member Jonathan Cain. Okay, well, he didn't really have to do anything to get Jonathan Cain to show up. He's been there for quite some time. It's kind of a weird sentence or paragraph. First of all, he didn't reach back to pluck Dean. Dean's always been around. It's just been a matter of timing and getting Dean back into the band. So again, it just sounds weird. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And it will get worse before it gets better. I'm talking about this particular article. The lineup with veteran bassist Todd Jensen, not Randy Jackson, as some expected. Okay, so nothing about where Todd Jensen came from. He's just a veteran bassist who played with both Neil Schon and Dean Castronovo in the band Hardline. That wouldn't take a lot of research. Okay, that's kind of one you could, you know, figure out using Google. Use it. It's in this case, it's your friend. The lineup with veteran bassist Todd Jensen sharpened its attack with a Vegas residency in December and began the Freedom Tour here with the same set list. Oh, that's good. And I'm glad that their attack was sharpened. I didn't know they were attacking anybody. I mean, why do we have to use clever metaphors? Why can't we just tell people they got better in Vegas? Or, I mean, I'm sure there's a way to say things without sounding so cliche. Anyway, we're very happy to be starting our tour here in your great city. Neil Schon noted, Freedom, the 15th album from the band and first since 2011, hits sometime in 22. So this wasn't much of a Freedom show. To the delight of the crowd, Journey came to play the hits. To the delight of the crowd, Journey came to play the hits. Now, if you're a big fan of the band, you can stomach, you can stand, you know, one of these songs that the focus testers don't allow on the radio. Some of the deeper tracks that the band does, you could probably stomach those. But anyway, always a good move for a classic rock band that's charted dozens of them. Okay, well, thank you there, Nostradamus. The one new song, The Way We Used to Be, with a piano intro, much like Don't Stop Believin'. Yes and no, that's not necessarily true, but it does kind of have a quick piano intro, a short piano intro. But that song, he says here, was made to slide right in with the old ones. See, and that's what radio is supposed to do. If you got a new song, you make it sound familiar and you plant it right next to an old song. And then people will go, the band has a new song. Arnel Pineda, whom we have yet to mention, has been in the Perry role since 2007. and doesn't look like he's aged a day since then. He's 54, but he looks 24, running around the stage, and his voice is the sky-high, piercing top that has always been the band's signature. Piercing top. Yeah, okay, I don't know. This is just sort of degrading as we go along here. Bouncing around as he does, he hits some beautiful soaring notes and others that are total cringe, as if he can't hear the monitors. Okay? He's busy. He's busy singing. So, I mean, I could make a whole bunch of comments. Is Arnell hitting some beautiful notes? Yes. Is he maybe causing a few of those notes to go maybe not where they're supposed to go? Yeah. So this guy kind of gets it, but he just doesn't do really a good description here. But anyway, Lights, for instance, was bright like a zenith. It was bright like a zenith because it's lights, and lights are bright like a zenith. I get it. Man, this guy is so good. I wish I could write like this. Castronovo and Derlatka spelled him on a few of the songs. Spelled like spelling, like I don't understand how you would use that word there. Great writing, again, just solid writing. How about took over on vocals for these songs, and they say here, or this person says, and they get up there in the register as well. How about they manage to sing the high notes just as well, or in the original key, or something that's a little bit, they spelled him. I'm still trying to figure that out. I get what this person is saying, and I don't need a translator, so that's good. As for Sean, Kingpin and underrated guitar hero, in other words, mafioso Neil Sean, he gets his share of volume in the mix. Wow. So the guys in the control board in the back, right, they're like, hey, man, give Neil some more sound. He deserves some sound. Give him some volume in the mix. This guy is just, I mean, this is some really, I'm just going to call it very high school writing. This is somebody who didn't want to be there. They just didn't want to be there. He gets his share of volume in the mix and then some, making the sounds a lot crunchier than we may have remembered them. I've used crunchy guitars. I've used that, but it's not just crunchier. It's just he's allowed to stretch out on guitar. And he's been doing that now for quite some time. It's early in the tour, obviously, but there was a sense that the Journey players were competing to see who could be the loudest. Now, keep in mind, they can't do that, all right? There's somebody, again, in the back, this big console, a lot of knobs. It's called a mixing board. If one guy got too loud, the guy out back would be tasked to turn them down. That would be his job. It would be like, okay, I can see that the meter is going off the chart, so I have to kind of put it back down a little bit, hence turn his volume down. So I don't know how anyone can compete to be the loudest. I know Dean Castronovo on drums is a power drummer, but I know when he's up there, he's trying to do a little bit of Steve Smith, which is kind of a swing thing. So he's not competing to be louder. And again, this shows you sort of the lack of context here. At least so far, the reviewer has not used the term casual chemistry. So I will say that it's good. But this paragraph is a doozy here. The power ballads, Who's Crying Now, Love and Touch and Squeezing, emphasize the power, because that's what power ballads do. The Concrete really emphasized the hardness of the surface, and the power ballads emphasize the power. Okay, thank you. And the harder rockers like Separate Ways and Wheel in the Sky were delivered with the volume and force of Metallica. No exaggeration. So if you were there in the front row and, you know, like the old Memorex commercial, your hair just went whoosh, and then it was just like going to Metallica, dude. Wheel in the Sky, Man, it was just like Metallica, just like Master of Puppets. It was just crazy. Anyway, Journey, a band we would not describe as smooth on 2/22/22, seemed to me more out to prove that they can still raise the roof. So they say the band isn't very smooth, but they're loud. Wow. After all that, we come to the conclusion that they're not smooth, but they're loud. Initially, Billy Idol was supposed to open. It would have been his first show here in more than 2 decades. Oh, so the guy sounds kind of like he's disappointed that Billy Idol wasn't there. But sinus issues were a setback. No, he actually had to have surgery for the sinus issues. It wasn't just a setback. Instead, we got Toto. Okay, so it's almost like, well, I wanted something else for Christmas, but instead all I got is this crummy t-shirt. Instead, we got Toto, who are on the bulk of the tour and are probably more suited for this Journey hookup. So Journey hookup, it's like Toto and Journey are going to hook up together, and then they're going to have a baby. Hookup? Anyway, the two bands have a new connection, with Kane's daughter engaged to Toto guitarist Steve Lukather's son. How about they have an old connection in that Steve Lukather and Neil Schon are big-time, old-time buddies? How about that one, Mr. Reviewer? He took the TMZ approach, and yeah, it's true. Kane's daughter is engaged to Luke's son. Cool, right? Anyway, this is the first show of the tour, and the first show we've done in 2.4 years, said singer Joseph Williams, probably the wittiest thing in this article I've read thus far. After powering through its biggest riff rocker, Hold the Line, that's not necessarily true. I will say this, though. Hold the Line might be their most recognizable riff rocker. It was one of many that allowed the well-traveled Lukather, the well-traveled Luke, dude, you're well-traveled, buddy, to unleash a scorching guitar solo. By the way, he's not well-traveled. He is, in his 60s. I would say this about Steve Lukather. He's one of the greatest guitar players in history for his studio work alone, but his live appearances, when they happen, are quite mind-bending, and I'm hoping that both Neil Schon and Steve Lukather at some point during this tour will be on stage together. Because unlike the Reviewer, I'm a music fan, and I'd love to see these two guys go out there and just jam for a little while. Oh, I don't know, maybe 5 or 10 minutes. Anyway, unlike Journey, Toto wasn't trying to blow the roof off the arena. This guy just had a problem that Journey was too loud. The polished band, and listen to this, a staple of FM filler back in the day. Wow. Toto, you guys, hey man, you guys are just FM filler. I remember listening to Toto on adult contemporary stations, on rock stations, on top 40 stations, and it was AM, it was FM, it was all over the place, man. But this guy says you guys are just a bunch of FM filler. Anyway, you glided through some of the most loved songs like I'll Be Over You and hated Georgie Porgy. And then they call it, of course, yacht rock. And I know how much Steve Lukather loves that when they just throw Toto into the yacht rock category. First of all, nothing wrong with yacht rock. I love it. I own it. I play it. If I'm on the desert island and I'm stranded, I want it there with me. I want the Pina Colada song nearby. I want to sail away to Key Largo. I want all of it, right? Anyway, he goes on. Rosanna, on the loved side, turned into a jam that would have shaken the umbrellas out of the drinks. So yes, we're still on the yacht rock theme. On a wet Tuesday night, they ended up blessing the rains of Africa, another song that has captured young hearts. The crowd was happy to bless them right back. And that's where it ends. Okay, great review. Did you like that review? I loved it. It was spectacular. So Anyway, Journey and Toto. Toto, by the way, has an interesting short set list. They lead things off with Till the End, which is a great song to open. Hold the Line, I'll Be Over You. White Sister, Georgie Porgy, I Won't Hold You Back. You Are the Flower, Home of the Brave. That's an interesting addition. Rosanna, and then Africa. Of course, they have to play all the big songs, and they did. I'm sure they focus tested the heck out of that live set, because that's what you have to do today. You have to make everybody who only knows songs that were on the radio really happy. And what I would do is, yeah, I would play a majority of hits, but why, if you're going to see a particular band, would you expect that the band wouldn't dip into an album track, something that maybe was on the radio, maybe wasn't? I get it. All these people, they just run to the concession stands. Oh, it's not a hit. All right, I can go and grab myself a $14 beer and just, I'll get back and maybe they'll be playing Rosanna again. And that's the thing. If Journey went out there and they played Don't Stop early, the crowd might ask for it again as an encore. That's how much this has become so narrow. And Journey has a huge catalog, as does Toto. It's a shame they don't have more time to bring this music out there. In the case of Journey and Toto, they're both relying on people who are both casual fans and hardcore fans. And the hardcore fans will go because what else? What other game is there in town? And these casual fans are going to go because, hey, I've heard Africa. Was it Weezer or somebody redid Africa? And it's like, ooh, did you hear that cover version? Even Steve Lukather apparently liked it, but I was just like, yeah, the original is like 100 times better. Stop it. Just stop it. Anyway, that's the review from Pittsburgh. And if I get any more goofy reviews, I may just read those as well, because this is very therapeutic. It actually makes me feel as though I kind of do know what I'm talking about, but or at least I have a little more context. It's just like, it's a hated song because it's from the disco era. Okay, well, I think we've forgiven the disco people to some degree. We realize that was actual R&B music, whereas today it's just Pro Tools and somebody's whose voice is being corrected throughout the entire song. So yeah, I'll take disco. It was actually a little bit more difficult to produce and sing. Not saying it's my favorite format, okay? Not saying that. I'm just saying these people, they just write cliches and then people go, yo, yacht rock. Yeah, let me get my mixed drink with the umbrella and let's just hang out on the beach. All right, I'm done. There's a lot more I could say, but I'm running out of air, so I better stop.